2 days ago, Sonny Perdue and Donald Trump announced that they will be taking roughly $12 billion from the Commodity Credit Corporation fund and giving that out to farmers as sort of a subsidy, or a subsidy. It's going to be split up 3 different ways. Some of it is going to be going towards developing new markets, which seems a bit ironic right now. Some of it's going to go towards purchasing some leftover commodities that will go towards nutrition programs and stuff like that. Probably not a bad idea, I guess. Hopefully it goes towards the right things. And the remaining will be split up and given to farmers. Corn, soybean, wheat. I don't know if cotton was in there, but dairy and hogs were also in there. I assume that'll be kind of a direct payment, kind of like we used to have several years ago. And my thoughts on it are, is first off, I want to say that I do respect the administration's efforts, and I do respect the fact that they are acknowledging that farmers have been hurt by this, because there's no doubt we have been. We've lost 20 or 25% of our soybean price in the last 6 to 8 weeks since the trade war got ugly. We have also lost probably 15 to 20% on corn, which with the narrow margins that we have right now is way more than we can really afford to lose. There are a lot of farms hurting right now. Things are not looking good, but that's the nature of business. It cycles up and down. And while I appreciate the administration's efforts and the acknowledgement that they want to help the farmers, I kind of have some mixed emotions on this whole deal. First off, I never like to receive a subsidy. I would rather cash flow my business and do business in the free market rather than have my business manipulated by the government. I do understand that there are farms hurting right now, and this is going to help them out a little bit. I don't know how much of that $12 billion we're really going to get after you divide it up 3 ways and send it to nearly 2% of our population of the U.S. Granted, farmers don't make up a big portion of the U.S., but when you take $12 billion and you divide it up, a million ways, I don't know how much money will be left over for farmers. Anyway, I don't know. I kind of feel like we're putting a Band-Aid on an artery wound here. We're not treating the problem, we're treating the symptom. And I had a guy comment to me on Facebook. He said, well, when you're sick and you go to the doctor, he gives you medicine to feel better. Well, you heal for something, or maybe after surgery or whatever, right? And that does make sense. Maybe short term this is a good thing for us. I know it's going to be okay for us, but I wish that we would just come to some terms on a trade deal here, and hopefully we will. I don't entirely disagree with what Trump is doing on trade, because as farmers anyway, we do know that China definitely has had some dirty tactics in the past. So standing up to China and what they've been doing is not a bad deal. I'm not against that. I'm not a big fan of subsidies. What about the steel industries and other workers that are going to be hurting by this trade? What about electronics? What about the salmon in Alaska? They export a lot of salmon. Is there going to be help for them? I don't know. There's a lot of people that'll be hurting if we damage our trade relations, which we've already done. I gotta ignore this phone call. Okay, phone call ignored. So where was I? Yeah, why are we the ones getting the subsidy? Maybe there will be more, I don't know, but I do question also 2.5 weeks ahead of the midterm elections. Is Trump just trying to prop up a solid base that he knows he has? Probably. Why wouldn't that run through his head, right? Farmers have been hugely supportive of Trump. So why wouldn't you want to make the farmers happy right now? Because we're clearly, for the most part, we're annoyed with him right now because we've lost such huge prices in our crops, and we're damaging the relationship with our biggest trade partner when it comes to corn and soybeans out here. So we're annoyed by that, but we also, most of us seem to understand that we'd like something to change, so I think we're optimistic. The subsidy, though, I don't know. Honestly, a lot of that subsidy money is going to flow right through because we're going to put it in our cash flow anyway, and we're going to flow it through to some sort of an expense. Because the reality is, farming is a business, and we're all in stiff competition with each other. We're all in competition with the neighbors. Most of us get along really great. Most of us love each other. I love all my neighbors. I get along with everybody well. But that doesn't change the fact that we're in direct competition with all those guys. So when we get extra money thrown at us, most of us are going to figure out what to do with that in a hurry, and we're going to spend it somewhere, especially when it comes to competition with land. Maybe we'll decide to run down the road and talk to the widow that's got a quarter of land that she needs to rent out, and try to outbid the next guy. I don't know. I know it happens. Of course it happens. Anybody who farms knows that. Maybe we'll decide to buy that next product that we weren't sure if we were going to spend the money on or not. Now we've got this money, we're going to buy that product and put it on their fields. Still not a negative thing. You're still stimulating the agriculture economy. You're spending the money somewhere. So it has a give and take. But, you know, 30 years ago, about 50% of net farm income in my area was made up of government payments. And people still remember that, especially non-farmers. Consumers that don't understand much about farming still remember when farmers were making money off the government payments. That is not the case and hasn't been the case for quite some time, at least not in my county. Corn and soybean growers in my county have not been getting hardly a sliver of government payments to go towards their net farm income. And the records, the public records will show that net farm income is not made up of government payments and hasn't been for a long, long time. I've never gotten any giant government payments. I know that for sure. So I hate to see us be handed more government subsidies and open ourselves up to be ridiculed by people who maybe don't get it, or even people who do get it. I'm just not a fan ever of big subsidies when it comes to private business. I just wish, I'd like to see the government keep their hands out of it. That's kind of how I feel on the whole deal. A lot of people probably going to disagree with me, even though I stayed fairly neutral. I think I covered everything that's on my mind. Why don't you guys go ahead and comment? Let me know what you think. I'm sure most of you will, but tell me your experiences and your comments. And I know a bunch of you are going to bring up crop insurance subsidies. That is an entirely different conversation in and of itself. I have some varying opinions when it comes to crop insurance subsidies, but that specific subsidy is an entirely different conversation all around. So let's try and stay away from that if we can. But throw me a comment. Let me know what you think. By the way, my radishes are looking good. I had to go through here and mow some stuff down last week. I was getting a lot of water hemp and ragweed growing up by the road ditch. Now I've got some big radishes here. I didn't realize these things would get so tall and start flowering, but they're doing that. We'll see what they do. If you dig down in here, you can see some of the radishes starting to work up out of the ground. I'll see if I can pull this one out without breaking it. Look at that. I'm thinking I want to let these grow a little bit more and bust up some of this compaction. Not that I have a big compaction issue here, but I wanted to test and see what these things do to the soil, since I had to leave these end rows open anyway to have a nice looking test plot here. Corn's looking good. We got really good weather for pollination. It's cooler out today. It's almost sweatshirt weather, or it is when you get into the wind and it's raining off and on. But you can see we're well beyond full tassel here. We have been full tasseled for quite some time. Things are starting to pollinate. When this silk turns brown and starts drying out, that's when you know that cob has been pollinated. So we got a long ways to go yet, but we're getting there. Corn's looking good. Other than the low areas we lost about 6 weeks ago, the corn actually looks pretty phenomenal. There's been no shortage of moisture, and there's been no shortage of heat either. We're ahead on heat units for the summer. Stuff's looking pretty good. Thanks, guys. That's all I got.